So I'm going to take you through the thoughts and feelings post-race of the Outlaw Nottingham Half, and coming off the back of probably one of my biggest wins to date and best triathlon performances to date. So essentially, finished the race, spoke to a few people after the race, and then basically just had to wander back to the car by myself, get my bike, pack the car, and then head off back to Cardiff for the 2 to 3 hour journey. And it's like, you've just won one of the biggest races that you've done and completed in your life, and then you've got a 3 hour journey on your own where you're just milling in your own thoughts, getting a bit tired. And I spoke to my parents on the phone and things like that, so that was great. But you're still on your own, so you're not really like celebrating really. Then you get home, or I get home, and I'm in the flat by myself, and again, you don't get that kind of joyous sensation celebrating, have a few drinks or whatever it is. So it's a little bit of kind of, not a low, because obviously I was still on a massive high from winning the race, but I didn't get the proper celebration that I probably would have wanted. I was obviously still buzzing about it. There's no two ways about that. Like, it was a great performance from me in terms of what I set out to do. And then there was loads of people messaging me, so that was so nice. So appreciative of all of that. So thank you very much to anyone who messaged. Always very welcome and appreciated. But yeah, it was just like a bit of high and a low, because ordinarily without COVID, my parents might have been here, or I might have been able to go to my parents, or this, that and the other. I might have been able to go out and have a few drinks with people, but that just didn't transpire. Anyway, moving on into the race itself and kind of how I approached the race and a little bit of the data that went with that. So for the swim, as I mentioned in the previous video, it was a staggered start, and because I was a late entry, I was at the back of the starting format, so everyone went before me in 6-second intervals, and I was right at the back, and I thought I might have a chance of being one of the fastest swimmers, so my race plan was to try and swim through the field as much as possible, and then try and bike my way to as close to the front as I could, because that way I knew that if I got to the front of the race, or near the front of the race, then I'd be 2 to 3 minutes up on those people because I started at the back of the swim. And then I just need to hold on for dear life on the run. The staggered start system, I'm not entirely sure if it worked for or against me, because going by the times that people produced, if I'd started on a mass start, I might have come out maybe with Andy, who also had a great swim, and then we might have been able to bike off the front. Like, it just completely changes the dynamics of the whole race. I had quite a good swim, and I didn't really see anyone, to be quite honest, because I think they were all to my left, and I was sticking quite tight to the racing line on the right-hand side, and I was breathing to the right. So I didn't really see anyone during the swim, right until about the last 200 meters, where I saw some splashing ahead of me. I must have been starting to come in line with people. Got out of the water, started going hard towards the bike, which was about an 800-900 meter transition, massive transition, and I found Harry Palmer and Finn just ahead of me, and I was like, yes, because I knew Harry was a pretty decent cyclist as well, so I knew that in theory we could try and bike together within the draft legal limit, and hopefully make our way to the front of the race. So that was great. I was really happy to be there. And then on the bike, that pretty much happened. So my plan on the bike was to try and hold around, on average, 330 watts for the first half of the race, thinking that if I could get towards the front on that, that would allow me to back off on the second half of the race and hopefully let it settle to maybe about 310, because I thought that was kind of my good 70.3 power outage. And it pretty much happened exactly like that. I mean, I put in quite a few large efforts, which were probably 360 to 400 watts for about a 5-minute period every now and again, just to try and bridge gaps in between groups and break a group, but that didn't really happen. The group kind of stayed together, and yeah, it was a weird dynamic, but part of racing. I didn't realise how far ahead Andy and Tim were, but we got to the point where the bulk of the people that I was racing were within the group that I was in. So I was like, I'll settle for that, and did a bit of a dig at the end of the bike just to see if I can split the group up a little bit more, and came to transition alongside Harry and I think it was Bo Smith. So we headed towards our racks and out onto the run, and I pretty much ran with Harry for the whole of the first lap, and we just had a bit of a chat, just discussed the run, and I was like, I hope my legs hold up after last week, this, that and the other, and he was like, yeah, this is a pretty solid pace. So that was good to have him there. We shared a bit of the load on going into the wind, so we just took turns. That was really, really handy and useful, and I thought a really good tactic. Went through an aid station on the second lap, and all of a sudden Harry and I think it was Alex who was running with us at the time was suddenly not on my feet. So I was like, oh, do I wait and share the wind again, or do I just carry on? And like, it was a split decision. I just decided to carry on, and I think it was probably for the best. But yeah, going back to Harry on that first lap, every now and again I'd be like, is Harry carrying a bottle of water? What's going on here? Just literally slosh, slosh, slosh. I was like, is that your stomach? He was like, yeah, not feeling great. I was like, that is the worst thing. I would not want that to be happening to me. So fair play to you, Harry. Like, I'd be tempted to stop if that were me, but well in. So yeah, obviously I was a little bit tentative on the run just because of Eton the previous week where I cramped up and basically just bonked. I'd fueled really well on the bike, and on the run, literally every single aid station that I came to, I was just smashing down anything I could, throwing things at my face. I think it went all over my body. At one point I had a couple of bananas in my hands and I was like, well, that's gonna have to do. And yeah, just any kind of liquid that I could get in my mouth without drowning, essentially. So it seemed to work quite well. I got to the third lap and I think I had a little bit of a dip, but it wasn't too bad. And then when I got back into running the home straight with the wind, I felt like I was flying. I could open the taps a little bit more, and I think I dropped it from about a 3:35, 3:30 down to a 3:20 per K just for that last couple of K. So there was more in the tank that way. I think I was being a little bit conservative because I was scared, essentially, of the same thing happening, and I hadn't done that distance before. But yeah, I think the whole run averaged out about 3:33 per K. So pretty decent, considering the course as well. I don't think the course was that fast. A fair bit of it was off-road, not that much, like it was about maybe 600 to 800 meters per lap were off-road on grassy kind of banky stuff, which I'm terrible at. I used to do cross-country, but as soon as I've done not a career in swimming, but as soon as I've got my floppy swimmer's ankles, they just cannot deal with anything that isn't kind of a smooth surface. My ankles are just all over the shop. So I don't feel as though it affected me that much, but at the same time, it probably wasn't the quickest run time for anyone, to be quite honest. So yeah, all in all, really good race. I had no idea that I'd won until someone showed us the results at the end. And that was such a nice surprise. But I kind of saw Andy and Tim ahead of me on the run, and Harry and I were clocking like how far behind were we, trying to time it on our watch, and then I'd kind of watch where they were each lap because you could see them across the lake. So there was that point of reference, and I knew that I was closing in on at least Andy. I think I only just outsplit Tim, which I was amazed at myself. Like, running is the worst of my three disciplines, so to be able to do that on the day to someone like Tim is like, yeah, mind-blowing for me, because I've been working on my run a fair amount, but didn't expect it to be in that sort of shape. Yeah, I knew I was closing, but I didn't realise that I'd won until I crossed the line. I don't think anyone realised until the results came in. Yeah, really good day out. Thank you, Outlaw. Thank you, all of the competitors. Like, I couldn't believe how strong some of the guys were on the bike. Just so impressive. Finn and Harry put in some great shifts. And yeah, I was just great to be part of the whole day, and it was such a great experience, so I'm just so privileged to be able to have taken part in that. In terms of the course record, now this is up for debate and you can make your own decisions. Let me know in the comments below, but essentially No, I didn't beat the course record. The course record was about 3:50, and I went a 3:55, 3 hours 55. However, I did beat, if you calculate them all together or add them all up, the overall split times. So for the swim, bike, run, I beat Will Clark's times. However, the transitions this year, because of COVID, were a lot longer, and they added up to about 5 minutes more than Will Clark's transition times. So the argument could be there that I beat the course record if you just go by the splits. I didn't because the course record is the course record. However, again, is this a changing course, and therefore I did beat the course record because it's a new course, and therefore I set the course record? Anyway, the question came about for me because Outlaw put out an Instagram post saying that they'd give £1,500 to anyone who beat the course record. And I didn't really have it on my radar until after the race when someone said, oh, I think you might have beaten it. So I went back and checked, and I was like, oh, I beat all the splits, but the transition times meant that I didn't. And I was a bit like, got in touch with Outlaw, and they were like, no, it's got to be the overall time, blah, blah. So I was like, fair enough, okay. But yeah, I mean, it would have been really nice, but at the end of the day, I didn't do it, I guess. So yeah, gutted. Nah, it's fine, but would have been a nice bonus, I think. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Hope that shed some light into a little bit of the data and kind of my thoughts and feelings around the race. Again, really privileged to be able to have taken part. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and anyone that I've mentioned throughout this video, I'll put their links in the descriptions below. So thanks again, and see you next time.